Coach, what have you seen from this freshman class in preseason practices that gives you the confidence that they can survive and play D1 basketball?
I think they're going to more than survive. They're going to thrive. I think it's just a matter of time. But I love our freshman class. All three of them, I certainly think will impact us this year. There's no question about it. Just collectively have really filled needs that we have. Smart, high IQ. I think the thing that probably separates them just collectively is just how competitive they are. That they might not know exactly what's going on the whole time, but they just come out and compete, and it just covers up so much. But I think it's going to be a really, really impactful freshman class for us, no question about it.
Last year, you kind of knew you're starting five pretty early. It's going to be kind of one of those years you think where you're tinkering with some stuff, probably a good portion of the season.
I'm sorry, that will.
Well, yes, last year you kind of knew you're starting five pretty early, but a lot of different pieces, a lot of young people. So this will be kind of the kind of year where you'll probably be tinkering with different lineups and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out right now. Certainly have an entire starting group that's no longer here, so everybody would be stepping into a new role. And we're just trying to figure out, what are going to be the best lineups for us, who playing together, when, and just kind of how to approach that. And that's the value of, these practices right now, having opportunities to scrimmage. I feel like we can go in a lot of different directions. I love the depth of our team. I love the versatility of our team. It's a good problem to have right now, that I think we could do a lot of different things with a lot of different lineups. So I definitely think we definitely have more depth and athleticism than we've had in the previous 3 years.
Coach, the last couple of seasons, but you've had, again, to change over point guards, right? You had Anaya, you had Lacey, and then now this year's different, right? A new person has to kind of assume the helm. So who can we look out for that?
Well, definitely Macy James and Nyla Bush. I mean, those are really the two primarily, true point guards for us. I think Victoria Dixon can also help us out there as well, and we can be by committee if and when need be. So, we've been able to survive the last 3 years. We're really with one point guard, so just having some different options in that position is different for us. I love it in practice because you can have two kids that are going to play a lot of minutes running two different teams. But I think the experience of Macy is going to be just invaluable, and just a tough, hard-nosed kid, transferred from Pitt State. Just really is playing with a sense of urgency in her last year. And then really excited about Nyla Bush. She's been banged up a little bit here and there, but has been healthy for us. Expect her to see a lot of time at the point guard position as well. And just excited for her development. The one thing that I realized the other day, we did one of our first scrimmages. She hadn't played a game in 2 years, by the time she got hurt and then sitting out last year. So there's going to be a process there, but she's coming along, and just excited to get on the floor. She's certainly somebody that's a talented player for us in that position, no question.
What about Lainey? Obviously, without Sarah there to kind of stand in, it's her time to shine, right?
It is. I think Lainey was a huge impact for us last year as a freshman, and we don't. I've said it all along. We don't win the regular season conference championship if Lainey didn't have the kind of impactful minutes that she had, and now stepping into a new role where you don't have a senior to follow. You are really the one experienced person coming back in that position. So you've got to step into that role. And, it's hard, as a freshman, sometimes you come in as a freshman and any impact you have, anything is icing on the cake, right? That that she's got potential, freshmen have potential, but how that translates, you never know exactly. And now it's the expectation is this is your time to step up and be that leader for us down in the post as well. So, a new role. She's still young, still has a lot of things to learn, but just like the development piece from her.
Coach, what do you think of this transfer class, especially with Faith Lee stepping in? She's had a lot of success against the Lady Bears in the past. What do you think about that group as a whole?
I think they definitely fill needs that we have. I mean, I think our staff did a really good job addressing some of the needs and filled in where we felt like we needed some impact from the transfer portal. And Faith is probably one of the most athletic kids I've ever coached, and that's at any of my institutions that I've been at. Tremendous athlete. She's going to be a difference maker for us. I think she's done a great job just coming here and trying to learn as much as she can in a short period of time and really buying into what we're doing. We play very differently than Little Rock does in the way that she played the last 3 years, so certainly that's going to be, just a transition. But I think she's been doing a great job. She's an extremely hard worker, wants to be coached, but very dynamic in how she can potentially impact this. So, really relying on her to do big things for us.
Coach, as a recruiter, how important is it to recruit players who stand out in their position, but also stylistically?
Well, I think when we're going through the recruiting process, certainly you have to have kids that are talented enough to impact you. But then from there, really try to target kids who fit what we do. And so, it's with a rhyme and a reason, both sides of the ball. And I think if you look at our team collectively, you see the things that we value in terms of the versatility piece, the high IQ, the work ethic, a lot of those intangibles, and really try to recruit to the system that we think can be successful. And then from there, we tailor it once we get the kids. How we played one year isn't going to be exactly how you play the next, and you try to fit, coach and fit your personnel, whatever you see best at that point.
You mentioned interior depth in the offseason kind of being a concern. Do you think you've made some progress there as far as interior depth?
I don't know. I hope so. I think every coach in the country probably always feels like they're a little thin in that position. It's just really hard to find. Just quality posts in depth. But I do like the kids that we have. We have to stay healthy. That's going to be a challenge anywhere. But if we can stay healthy, I really like the kids that we have that can play the position for us. No question.
I follow the same principles for financial fitness as I do in the gym because strength isn't built overnight. It takes dedication. Smart choices today lead to success tomorrow. OMB Bank, community banking made better. Member FDIC.
New league, new competition, same sport though, right? So what's the big deal with Conference USA? How do you feel about this competition from what you've seen?
I think it's hard to know really what we will see, just because rosters are so different. Rosters have changed in the off season. Certainly have familiarity with some programs, having played them before, and then just from afar. But it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to watch games from last year to an extent, just because the rosters are so different. And so I think it's gonna be adapting and changing to what we need. But the good thing is, by the time we hit conference play, we'll have plenty of film on everybody, and we'll get our team as prepared as possible. I think the biggest challenge, in addition to the rigors of a really good conference, is just the geographic footprint and navigating that for the first time. That there's a lot of things that you're trying to figure out as a coaching staff to try to put your kids in the best position possible, having them ready but well rested. The travel is going to be very different, so I think there's a lot of other things that go into it as well.
Your pre-conference lineup is no cakewalk.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's done on purpose to try to get loaded and get ready.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough slate for us, no question about it. But I think what we've tried to do every year is put your team in the best position possible to have some really good opportunities. Hopefully can take advantage of some of those opportunities. We'll have some great opportunities here at home. Also on the road, just a really, really tough schedule. And then more than anything, I think the most important thing with non-conference is just how much you learn from it to then help get you ready for conference play.
Can you talk about Zoe Canfield a little bit and what the team looks like with your outside shooting as a whole?
Yeah, Zoe's a kid that can really stretch the floor and can really shoot it. Obviously a transfer from the University of Kansas. We recruited her the first time around. I think she'll be a great fit for us. You look at some of the playmaking guards that we have with a Nyla, with a Macy James, Faith Kamen, to have somebody out on the floor that can just knock shots down is huge for us. I think we have a number of kids that can really shoot it. Maybe, I hate to say it, but hopefully one of our better three-point shooting teams in terms of consistency, volume, but then also depth there.
How do you hope this team moves on from players like Lacey Stokes, Paige Rocca, Kira Daniels, all those guys, and kind of take on a new identity?
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody needs to look in the rearview mirror. I think it's all about, looking forward, looking ahead. They have the same opportunities those kids before them had. And so I think it's just taking advantage of the opportunities that you have, really building a trust and cohesion in the locker room, trusting the process and how we're trying to coach them and what we're trying to do with them collectively. And I think, like I said, I think the team's got a lot of potential. Certainly, there's going to be ups and downs throughout a long season, but these kids have the same opportunities to do things that kids before them have done. And so, more than anything, I'm excited for them.
Follow up about Cayman. I talked to her in the offseason. I said, "Can you believe you're going to be a junior already?" She goes, "No, it's going by so fast." What have you seen the most from her, from a freshman out of Republic into now going to be a starter and an impact player?
Yeah, she's grown a ton. But as much as she's grown and saying that she's a junior, it feels like yesterday she was a freshman. And so, time does fly, but she's developed, she's grown a ton of confidence. She could always put the ball in the bucket, right? But I think probably her biggest development and something I think she can take a lot of pride in is just how she's become such a reliable defender and rebounder for us. I mean, she led our team in rebounding last year. She was, outside of Lacey Stokes, she was our best ball defender. So I think those are two areas that we've really focused on her development that maybe wasn't always necessarily a focus for her because she was, she just needed to put the ball in the bucket when she was at Republic. But she's grown a ton in so many ways, and before you know it, she'll be graduating. But because these last 2 years have flown, there's no doubt about it. It seems weird to say that she's one of our upperclassmen now.
Coach, 2 new coaches on your staff. How's that transition going?
It's been good. This year probably reminds me more of my first year in terms of the number of new players and new staff. I think one of the things that has been great is my 3 years here, we've had a lot of continuity. We've had a lot of continuity in terms of our coaching staff, in terms of our support staff and things like that. And certainly things change over time, so it's never always going to be the same. But in terms of feeling like there's a lot more that you got to get people up to speed and teach and things like that, a new system probably reminds me a little bit more of my first year in terms of it's the first year we've had this much change since I've been here.
Anything else for Coach?